Good afternoon, thank you all for being here. We're here for the Facilities and Safety Committee meeting for the Board of Trustees of HCISD. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. No need for a quorum, but we do have a quorum, that's good. At this time, I'm calling you to order, and I want to ask if there are any comments or public comments for agenda topics for this time.
There are no reports.
Thank you very much. And so I guess we'll just dive right into the agenda, and we'll ask Mr. Tapia if you can go ahead with our first item, the presentation update of ESSER funded projects, please.
Facility Chair Dr. Nolan Perez, on the committee, and we're going to start off with the ESSER funded projects. That you do have a physical handout that's starting on page 4. We have the HVAC that we did at Central Plant at Harlingen High School. We're about 75%. All the piping has been done. New pumps have been put in. Everything is working. We are trying to finish up all the digital controls that subsided into the whole system. And afterward, we'll finish up with commissioning work. The next item is the improvements at Copley, Long, and Wilson. Wilson is complete. The units for Long are going to come in about a month. So we're still waiting for those units, and at Copley, they're already working on the controls. The HVAC at Bowie and Gutierrez, the units at Bowie are going to come in November, but the digital work at Gutierrez is going to start next week. The submittals were approved, materials ordered, so we're going to get that one going pretty soon. The HVAC controls at Harlingen High School, we're doing the main buildings other than the plant that I talked about earlier. This is the rest of the campus. We got 2 parts with ACL, digital control for the remainder of the campus at $248,000. The budget was $250. That's what the green was. We wanted to list the budget was $250. We awarded the last 4 meeting $248, so we were within budget. Administration annex, controls and chiller installation. They're starting the wiring at the annex building. The chiller line installation, we got that one on hold because we're assessing the chiller line. It's pretty rusted, way more than we thought it was. And we're having the engineer assess whether we can continue moving forward or we're going to have to replace some of the lines on that before we finish it. So I'll report progress at the next meeting. At Harlingen South, we ordered some units for the Van Hall fire area at $780,000, and those units will be in, I think, in about 4 months, 5 months.
January 2024.
January? January, those units will be in. Any questions on the HVAC projects? Now we'll move on to the re-roofing. They're on page 5. We have a re-roofing that we have at South Bell and Early South Academy. $1 million for American Contracting. This one, we've had a progress meeting. The majority of this work is at Prairie Child Academy. It's going to be quite disruptive doing the roofing work during the school day. So the contractor has come up with a plan to start working at 6 p.m. to 4 p.m. 4 a.m. They're going to be working at night with lights. So that's to not do any work during the day. There's just a lot of disruption for the little kids. So that's a very good thing that the contractor was able to work out. Fenestration, improvements in roofing at Harlingen High School. This is a big project, combined roofing and doors and windows. $4.6 million project, we're about 44%. We have an issue that I'll talk about here in a sec with the Wing 8. The metal deck has some severe rusting. I'll show you the pictures here in a little bit. And then Rio Roofing is doing work under the Janak contract for the admin annex, which has already been completed across the street. Vernon Middle School, library, and part of the other language academy wing, that's complete. So they're going to be moving on to the cosmetology, do some roofing repairs, and then some mini gyms are going to be replacing the metal panels up on top. So overall, we're about 75% on that project. Going to Harlingen High, that's the wings that have already got the new cap sheets. At the bottom, you can see when they tear off, they put the insulation, they put the black paper, they dry it in, which now if it rains, water won't go in anymore. So they put the cap sheet. And you can see in this wing here, this is an older picture, but this already has the cap on it, and this one as well, all the way up here, these long wings. this is a problem with the wing that we're having an issue with. This is wing 8. This roof is in really bad shape. The contractor is set up here in the parking lot, so they're accessing this roof to get to all the other wings. And they've been walking on it, rolling materials and so forth. They've noticed a lot of deflection, which means the roofing is like caving in. And I brought it up to the attention of the architect. Our architect, John Piercy from Megan Mortensen, is here to help us answer any questions. But we made the decision to get a structural engineer to do an assessment of the structure of the web trusses with the roof deck. And you can see there's some pictures of the deck underneath that when it rains, water gets in insulation and it's completely rusted. Most of the deck and all the rooms, and the water just drips right through into the drop ceiling and causes a lot of stains. And we're always having to clean out the insulation and clean out the water. This past weekend they had a big rain, and we had to abandon all the classrooms up in the second floor. Too much water was coming in, we had to clean it up. So the contractor's going to be working with the architect to do some temporary patch with that material. It comes in a liquid form. They're rolling it on to try to patch as many of the openings that are there right now. So the engineer gave an executive summary basically saying that in the digital observations found several areas exhibiting moderate to severe corrosion in every classroom and storage place. The roof deck has portions of the deck with complete section loss or bearing point failures. So based on the extent of the corrosion and the propagation of corrosion, GRA's recommendation that they just roof the deck be replaced. And make note that additional cost will be associated with the temporary support of existing chiller lines and gas lines. So if I go back to the picture, you can see all the chiller lines, insulated chiller lines that are up on the roof. So we have to do sections at a time. When you tear off the roof membrane and the deck with insulation, you expose the deck in the bottom. Instead of leaving it, we're going to have to take that off. So now you're standing in the room, it's complete daylight, the sun's hitting, there's no roof at all. Well, what's going to support the chiller lines and the gas lines? So they have to come up with something like that too. So the architect has gotten the engineer's report, done some drawings. They're going to send it to the contractor to submit a proposal, how much it'll cost to replace that entire roof deck. This building is the largest one. This building is 400 feet long. So it's pretty precise project. So we're not sure how much it's going to cost, but we'll update you at the next meeting. But that wing is pretty severe. And there's a drawing already with the architects done that we're sending out to the contractor for trial. This is the Early Childhood Academy that I told you about. This is one of the big wings. The other wing, and the kitchen and cafeteria, all the white areas that are going to be redone. Any questions on the roofing projects? Now we'll move on to the theory projects listed on page 12. That excavation is pretty much complete with the paving part over at the Secondary Alternative Center and First Responders area. The only thing pending there is landscaping, and we do have a price that we'll show you at the end of the presentation on some change order pricing. Early Childhood Academy, I told you about that. Well, that's the Green Thumb project that we have, the outdoor play areas in the back, and I'll show you some pictures there. We're about 75% complete. Renovations of Harlingen High School in Siwa, that's 1.9 million. It's about 60% complete. I'll show you some photos of that. Pack lighting is pretty much done. We're just going through some minor punch lists, and there's one fixture that we sent back for warranty because it wasn't working. Coakley and Vernon gym, we're about 10% complete, and I'll show you a picture of the painting work that we've done. Fire alarms is complete, and the parking lot improvements at Bella Central, this is the one we just awarded at the last board meeting. The parking lot lights that were rusted, that we took them all down. We're going to be putting up new parking lot lights at Bella and this building here. We had a budget of $400,000. We awarded at $357,000, so we were under budget on that project. Marquees, we had one last marquee that we're still working on, SAC. I'll show you a picture of that. It's finally complete. And the culinary projects at the two high schools, we awarded this at the last board meeting. Our project was $450,000 and the unit was $441,000. That's the awarded amount. So the Early Childhood Academy, that's just some of the pictures of the work that we're doing. A lot of sidewalk work with the granular depth underneath with the gravel where the water percolates through into underground drainage systems. We got River Walk, that's kind of simulated a river stream. And Harlingen High School, there's some of the water. The ceiling where the concrete was, this straight line here is going to be a straight LED light. And that's the quad area, finishing up the landscaping and the metal panels under that. The eating area outside the cafeteria, we've made some openings up the top to bring some sunlight in. There's some landscaping that we already got the boxes in with the sprinkler system. We've got to put in landscaping. This is one of the stairwells. It's got one of the fixtures, that the LED that's going to be exactly what I just showed you in the back. That LED light is going to be like that all the way through a continuous light. So it's going to look really neat, nice design feature. And that's the old area they call the barn, with a wooden structure. It was knocked down, metal structure was put up. It's got the tables back, so now the kids have more areas to eat. In the front of the school, we wanted to point out that at the entrance to the school, we have these metal gates that we close and open. We're working with the principal. We want those removed to open up the campus to give it a more open feeling. And then when you go in, then you have the gates to enter into the school, so it's secure. There's a gate that you need to press a button so they can let you in. And over to the right, there's another gate here. So it's a secure area. So we're going to be removing those gates. Vernon, painting work is done. Painted white. The ceiling was painted white, and the trusses were painted red. And so, and we got brand new LED lights as well. So the Vernon project's doing very good. Now that it finishes, they're going to reward it totally. The marquee I talked about is SAC. Finally got the new panel in, Secondary Alternative Center. Digital system's working, so they're able to make announcements now. The safety fencing I reported last week, completed projects. I took those off the list. But we had some anywhere between 90–95%, and all of these are complete now. From Lee, South, Austin, Stewart, those are all complete. And now we're just going to start Crockett and Dishman. We're in the procurement phase. We have prices. Those are the prices that we secured. Those will be on your agenda next Tuesday for award. Are they in the consent? It'll be an action item for those two fencing projects. And the ones we completed, there's just a few pictures of Austin Elementary, Means, fencing, and part of the south fencing. These are 8-foot fencing, by the way. Contingency allowance on page 23. First one is the roofing, real roofing that we have for the annex in Vernon. We did add some extra metal wall panels at Vernon, 16 additional downspouts, and basically it was a thicker fascia metal because the one that was put in was a little bit smaller, so it makes the work as well. That one actually had to send it the last meeting, so this is additional work. We have a contingency of $79,847 available. This change order is $13,286, so we're still going to have $66,000 left over after this change order. We wanted to report this one. And the next one is La Feria Excavation. This is the one where we had a landscape allowance. I'm sorry. Oh no, this is with La Feria Excavation number 2. This had work to do with hot mix asphalt along the street. There was a section of curb that had to be torn out, redone because it was really broken up and leaning backwards, and a section of asphalt along the whole front of that campus, and some additional pavement on Oklahoma Street and the curb. So that was an additional $4,000. It was a small amount. Sorry, it was $4,371. Greg, how do I get back? Did I do that, or did you do that? I did that. Page 23. So this one was $4,371. So in this project, we had $51,000 left over. That's in the contingency. Remember, when it's a contingency allowance, it's included in the awarded amount already. So we're not increasing the contract amount. It's what it we get number 2 done, then on number 3 for the first responders, we already have a landscape allowance that we built in, thinking it would be more or less around this area, but it's gonna be more, it's gonna be 95,000. So between the remaining contingency and the landscape allowance, we have 116. We're gonna spend 95, so we'll have 21,000 left over. The landscape went higher than we thought because it wasn't just the first responders, it went all the way to the SAC property because we expanded the bus drive and we did some expansion over at SAC as well, so it expanded the scope of work. But even awarding this change order, we still have 21,000 left over. Because it's 95,000 and it's over 50, we are going to take an agenda item to the school board meeting next week to formally get it approved by the board, since it's over 50,000. Legal policy requires that. And then we have 2 final payments that will also be on your agenda. Policy requires all final payments to go to the board. And so this original contract was 1.1 million. We did do a change order for 138 for the additional restroom addition that we did. So it was 1.25 was the new contract amount. We've already paid this much, so the balance is 62,000. Pay that out and we'll close out the account at zero balance. On the next one, we had the 527. We have 228. 9,228 that we did not use of unused contingencies. So we deduct that, our new contract amount 518. We've already paid 492, so we'll have a balance of 25,932. So that's what will be on the agenda for your approval. Are there any questions on those? Now we can move on to the next item.
You done with your items?
Yes.
Any
Unless
questions
there
about
are any
either the
questions.
ESSER or the tier funded items or projects? Any questions?
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go for it.
Oscar, going back to the Harlem High School Wing 8 issue, is there a contingency in that contract that we can hit for potential overruns on that?
We do have about how much we have, John, like a 200,000 roughly? 200,000. We don't think that's gonna be enough. I'm thinking it's gonna be closer to 500,000 to 600,000.
It's a complete redo.
Yeah. That is an ESSER funded project. We'll see if we can add additional funds to that. But we do have the 200,000 that if we don't use, let's say we got the 500,000, we credit the 200, so the balance of 300 left.
During the scoping process, would that not have been identified at that point? If it's just the process of walking on it for months to doing the work on the other wings?
Yes, we had this issue come up a few years ago where we were having a lot of leaks and kids taking pictures, parents and sending out emails to the district and the superintendent, Facebook comments, things like that. So we did it in-house. We used our roofers to put that rubber seal on top of the entire building. That's why it looks white. But with time, it's been about 4 years. With time, it's already cracking, and then with all the weight, moving back and forth on it. Kimberly says feels like a trampoline. I said, well, if I get it, it's going to be more than a trampoline. I might go through.
Yeah.
That's how bad some of the areas are.
Yeah.
So until we started really being up there, people walking on it a lot, that's when it became more and more noticeable. And that's when the architect said, I think I better do the study. Some of these areas are pretty bad. We thought it was going to be only a couple of areas, but once we checked every room, the engineer was saying it's everywhere. If we find an area that's pretty solid, maybe just 2-3 sheets in one room, and we can say that's good enough, let's get the credit back on that one, save a little money if we can leave that one in place, and maybe just remove 1 or 2 sheets. But if it's the entire room, then we gotta take out everything, all of the metal panels that are welded on. But even with the rust spots, if you leave them in place, the rust with any moisture will keep rusting away. And a lot of them are where the tacks are onto the steel, the web joists. It'll start rusting the joists, which we don't want, so we want to stop it completely.
Integrity. Thank you.
What's the urgency, sir? What's the urgency of this? How soon do you need to?
Seems like we have professional urgency now documented.
We need to do it immediately. So we're leaving out
The
the
engineer, the architects, pretty much.
yeah, so we're getting it out to our contractor right now to give us a price and see how soon we They've already vacated the upstairs rooms because of the lease we had, so we can keep the kids out of there. It gives us a little more space to work.
So another question is, Oscar, perhaps, you know, with this sort of surprise or this sort of, you know, kind of something that we found out, perhaps this deserves maybe a further discussion at a later time when you think it's appropriate to come back to the board to maybe, because I've had conversations with the superintendent and other folks that are kind of like, you know, illuminating, shining a light on other facility issues, other schools, not just HHS. And I think we would like to hear from you down the road as to, I guess, the adequacy or inadequacy of our TRE funds to really systemically sort of, you know, keep up to date with all our facilities across the whole district. Because it sounds like we're having more and more gaps in the maintenance and upgrading and the sufficiency of our facilities district-wide. I think this board would like to hear a report from you as to sort of where those gaps are and where those needs are that you know about now. It sounds like this one was a kind of a little bit of a surprise, but I think, you know, you and I talked about Dr. Gonzalez, and just different things that have kind of surfaced since he's just been a fresh set of eyes at this district that are significant facility deficits, significant you know, problems with our facilities district-wide, and I think this board should hear about that because this was a shocker to us, right? And so we need to know, eyes wide open, what are our facility needs, and let's do strategically. Let's look at this. You know, I mean, again, you're the professional. You've got all the information at the right time of your choosing, and of course, Dr. Gonzalez choosing. Come back and give a full report to the board and say, here's where we are. This is where our TRE's getting us, and here are these gaps. And then what are the urgency of those gaps? Because I'm assuming, I would like to assume that the most urgent things are getting on the TRE because we can do that as we go. But where are our other gaps, and what is the sense of urgency of those kind of things? I think we would love to hear a report from our in-house professionals as to what your take on those are, so that the board can begin to wrap our brain about what to do. Because there's different options, right? And we got to start thinking about those options, but we need to know first what, you know, and how, and the sense of it, and the sort of significance of it, and things like that.
Yeah, and I've already updated the capital improvement plan for the next 7 to 8 years. For air conditioning, roofing, parking lot repairs, lighting, painting, boiler, fire alarms, intercoms, cameras, security systems, everything. I have a big plan already that we would, having the Dr. Bertami kind of have a workshop in the future to start showing you those plans. But going back to the Harlingen Highway, that's been on the radar for several years. We didn't have the funding for it. Gary could only take us so far, but given the ESSER funds, it gave them a fantastic opportunity to address some of the really big urgent areas. So thank God for the ESSER that we're doing. If not, we'd still be planning for funding in the future.
But even then, it sounded like the problem was even worse than you expected.
Yes, it's worse.
Well, I appreciate you doing that. Sounds like you're already thinking about that line of a workshop. I think that'd be very, very important for us to do.
Yes, and it's worse because we've delayed so many years on it. The problem has gotten worse and worse. That if we would have removed it, say 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think it would have been to this point of erosion.
Yeah, I think we would love to see that capital improvement plan and everything. So thank you for that. If no other questions, then we'll jump right into the next topic, Mr. Mendoza, the construction funds and other projects financial report.
Yes, sir. So we're in the, thank you, Dr. Pettis, board member, Dr. Papan. So we are in our 9th year of our TRE program. Currently, years 1 to 8, we have spent 88.4 million on our current year. We have spent and committed, recovered 6,483,860. Total spent up to year 9, 94.9 million. And it gives us a positive variance of 9.4 million. I think we just started our 9th year. That's why we have that positive of 9.4
do you want to, the numbers you gave me, do you want to report
Sure.
that out to the board?
Yes, absolutely, yes. At our previous or two meetings ago, Dr. Perez wanted to double check, make sure that when we approved the TRE back in 2015, the ratio as far as the state and our local efforts, at that point, the state was contributing 52 cents on the dollar on our TRE project, and our local taxpayer was 48. Currently, our numbers, based on our property wallet, the local taxpayers are picking up 60% of that dollar, and the state is picking up 34 cents. So on that ratio.
48 to 66, basically.
Yeah,
And
yes.
that's because of the compression at the state level.
That is correct, the compression of the state level and also the property growth, we're at $4.7 billion.
And the value,
Property value.
the property value,
That is correct, yes.
How does that back into the number, how, per year, what is that?
it's still about 10 million a year, right?
Yes, it's still, yeah, we're still getting, allocating 10 million a year on those here.
It's just now we're doing 6.6 million instead of the 4.8.
Having to contribute more to get that.
We're having to contribute
Yes,
more to
our-
get that match.
yeah, that is correct.
The
Our
match is compressed essentially
That's correct. Yes.
because of state tax compression and valuations locally have gone up.
That is correct, and our ADA and enrollment have decreased that contribution to us as well. Yes.
And does that perpetuate year after year,
I
that
mean,
10 million?
So it just
knock on
depends.
wood, we like to say this is
Yes.
all, this is perpetuity, but I mean, it's at the pleasure of the legislature. But I've never seen them take away TRE once it's passed. I've never.
No,
That's unprecedented.
those cents are there for us, our board pass, or our committee passed it, so those cents are there for us. Now they're at compressed at 13.83 cents, as compared to back in 2015, they were 17 cents. So now they're compressed down to 13.83 cents.
Yeah, there's no, the question, there's no time limit on a TRE. It's not like this is good for 30 years. I mean, it's been passed. It's a.
Right.
So once the bonds are paid for, then you guys continue.
Yeah, we have some.
It's a revenue stream going forward based on voter, unless local voters do something different.
Just like,
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when we approved our tax rate back last month, we proposed 77.22 cents on our M&O. If we wanted to, or we had recommended something higher than that, it would have automatically triggered a rollback and
Sure.
head down to our local taxpayer, and they would have to have approval.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's it for your report?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, at this point, we'll jump into our school safety update. Danny, you want to take it away?
Dr. Meadows, I'm going to be doing a short presentation in
Okay.
executive.
Okay, so we're just going to skip this and go straight into executive?
Yes, sir.
Got it. All right, so do we have any questions in open session for Danny before we go in? He's going to talk about some other stuff in executive, but any questions for him? I mean, sometimes we have questions about police officers or any new relationships or anything, any questions for, I think he's doing a top-notch job getting us more and more agencies and police officers and having more and more meetings and stuff like that. So we hear nothing but great things, but I just want to say that probably. So thank you. So if not, then we'll jump into, and again, we do have some action after this, and we do have a quorum, thankfully. We're now going to adjourn to a closed session for the following purposes, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, attorney consultation regarding legal issues related to establishing school guardian program, as well as Texas Education Code section 370814, and then as well as 551.074, deliberate the possible appointment and employment of security personnel to act as a school guardian program, and also to deliberate the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel, critical infrastructure, and security devices, adoption of regulations for school guardian program. And that will all be discussed in executive session, and we may have action, we can be again in open session. So at this time, we are now in executive session. Thank you. Thank you all. Before we start our Transforming Teaching and Learning committee meeting, we do have some quick committee recommendations for consideration for approval for the full board. So at this time, we're reconvening an open session after our closed session.
Or it says the chat that was, it says, we are currently waiting on another meeting to conclude and we'll open it forward.
Yeah, so with that, I'll entertain a motion for item 7A.
I would move that we approve the establishment of the school guardian program and the education code section 370814 discussed in closed session.
Motion,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, okay. That passes. For item 7B, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the appointment and employment of security personnel to act as school guardian program as discussed in executive session in this committee. Second.
Motion is second, for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, motion passes. And then final, 7C.
Make a motion to proceed as discussed in executive session regarding 7C, specific occasions for implementation of security personnel, critical infrastructure, security devices, adoption of regulations for school guardian program.
Second.
Second, and then for discussion, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So these now will proceed to, for the full board for consideration at our next board meeting. So thank you all, and this meeting is adjourned.